Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us sincere and make us benefit from anything that we hear and we benefit from, inshallah. So inshallah, we'll try to go through the presentation as quick as we can. But what I'd like to do is firstly just start off by sharing my screen, inshallah.
Yeah, there we go.
Bismillah. Okay. If I can find it. Bismillah. Okay, so I'm not sure if it's loaded yet or not. It's still loading. Okay, so I just wanted to show you, just to again, I think everyone is always thinking about coronavirus. So this is a study, a few studies put together, and some statements from leading researchers, across the world about the coronavirus. We've all heard about it and how devastating it is and how how it's spreading. But have we spoken about what the underlying important causes are to prevent having serious outcomes? And the answer is no. And we'll talk about why, inshallah, later on. But simply here, we found that obesity and poor diet is the biggest risk factor for having a bad outcome from COVID, as in death from COVID. So the virus may affect anybody, but the people who are more likely to die are those people who had bad health conditions. And obesity is the top condition that led to the death of patients. That includes the studies done in Italy. 99% of those patients who died had a condition like obesity, blood pressure, diabetes. All those conditions which are actually treatable, controllable. It's very much a secondary thing. So they're trying to put a lot of money into vaccines, a lot of money into drugs, but no one's really talking about what actually makes a big difference, which is actually changing our diet and our lifestyle. So we'll talk more about this a little bit later on, inshallah. And we'll jump straight into the presentation. So I'm a GP based in Leicester, and alhamdulillah, I have a interest in lifestyle medicine over time. Over a few experiences and things that I've seen over time have pointed to the fact that I believe that many illnesses can be controlled by diet alone. And alhamdulillah, many doctors, many academics have gone to do a lot of research around this, and there's more and more evidence showing that this is the case, that diet or lifestyle changes are the most important aspects in our health to prevent all these big problems that we're having. And we're trying to link this to Ramadan, inshallah. So first question is Ramadan actually related to health? Are there any any medical benefits of fasting? And how we can use Ramadan, if at all, to improve our health? So inshallah, we'll go through 5 points, inshallah. First is our mindset. And you might be wondering, what's this got to do with Ramadan? What's this got to do with our health? We'll speak about this in a few minutes. And again, we'll touch into current medical health models, what's going on, and what we need to do in order to get our health working better. So give me just 1 second, inshallah. Just going to take something off if it will work better, inshallah. Sorry. Bismillah. Close that. So I'll continue this, inshallah. So we'll try very best. If there's any problems, inshallah, brother, please let me know, inshallah. Yeah. So the mindset, who am I? And why is this important? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to the effect, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set our identity individually and also as a nation, and we have to begin with this, inshallah. Yes, we believe we are slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but then next, what are we? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about us that we are the best nations, ukhrijat linnas. We have come forward for human beings. So is this the mindset that I have? Is this the mindset that I wake up with? Is it, is this woven into my day-to-day behavior? Bear with me, inshallah. Sorry. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says we are here for the good of mankind. So the question is, I ask, what does it mean to be ukhrijat nas, to be here for mankind? Let's ask ourselves this question: am I ready to be a steward, a caretaker, someone who guides, helps, is a caring person for other humanity, for other people? Am I here, ready to look after the planet? Am I ready to be the Khalif of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ready to give the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to other people?
Sorry, the mic is coming through broken.
Okay.
Now it's better. It's just sometimes it comes through broken.
Broken. 1 second, inshallah. I'll see if I can try. You can see the screen though, inshallah.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
It's fine, yes.
But the sound is on the.
It's fine
I'm
right
not
now.
sure how.
So it's up and down.
Okay, inshallah. So the second question is, do I represent Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Because as a Muslim, we all, whether we like it or not, are representatives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's no more prophets to come, and we are representing his deen, his way of life, and we're representing Islam, whether we like it or not. And if we ask ourselves, what is the fitness to like of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Well, he was 40 sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he received revelation. So how old was he when he made hijrah? How old was he when he was to participate in the battles of Badr and Uhud, and when he was when he was in the Khandaq, when he was riding horses and riding camels? How old was he? Are we able to do this? Would we be able to do this? We know from the blessed Shama'il of the Prophet ﷺ that his chest and his stomach was flat. Do we represent this, the surah of the Prophet ﷺ? And I'm not here to criticize anyone, myself. I'm asking these questions to myself. Am I ready to fulfill this responsibility to other human beings? So what does this have to do with diet is the first question. Well, the Prophet ﷺ said, the believer eats with 1 intestine and the disbeliever eats with 7 intestines. So this is about how we relate, how our relationship is with food. Why is the case? Ulama give many different reasons. They give the idea that barakah, that we say Bismillah, and shaitan doesn't share with that meal. The fact of the brotherhood or familyhood and mahabba between human beings, that we sit together, we eat together, we eat with our hands. All these things have, you can definitely say, there's huge medical benefits as well. But another thing is akhirah focus. That when we wake up in the morning, we're not thinking about, what food do I want to enjoy? What great restaurant do I want to go to? This is not our purpose of life. Imam Ahmed rahmatullah alayhi, his students saw him daily struggling, and they said, oh Imam Ahmed, when are you going to rest? And he said, when my right foot is in Jannah. So you can see the difference in our mindset. And the Prophet ﷺ, his Quran, to slowly push us and that those people who love their ibadah, they love striving for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will feel the difference when they eat healthy food and they eat for salat on time, they have difficulty in their body, etc. So the question is, what does this all have to do with that? Naturally, our lifestyle will become more healthy. We'll become less and less attracted to eating more, dunya. And so we should get more and more, advise myself firstly, more and more to get our lives closer and closer to Sunnah. So I want to try to attach this to what's going on currently in the medical world. We all, when we get sick, we all go to our doctor. But I want you to have a basic understanding of what's happening in the medical field. So, because actually medicine has, changed over centuries, from Greek medicine to modern medicine. And over time it does change. So understand medical training. Can medical training now, what happens is we go to medical school, we learn about disease processes, we learn about what makes, how to recognize disease, and then as soon as we come to treat it, we basically approach a drug, and that's medical training. If there's any doctors on the conference call, they may be able to agree or disagree with that. But that has been the case 15 years ago when I trained. That's has been the case, and still today, medical textbook, you learn pathology, anatomy, all these different sciences. You'll understand disease, and then as soon as it comes to treatment, it is drug treatment. It's not a bad thing, it's not a wrong thing, but you understand the model is all about how to treat, how to treat problems with drugs. But over the last 30 years, there has been bad medical advice. There's been bad diets, and then modern culture altogether has left us with very bad health. Just give me 1 second. I thought the sound's not very good. Okay, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, jazakallah.
Alhamdulillah. So what current medical research has shown, and lots of specialists are agreeing on it, that the main pathway to all this health, cancer, heart attacks, diabetes, strokes, dementia, arthritis, and many, many more, the underlying resistance. And you can Google it, you can read more about it, and there's lots more research about this. But this is the biggest factor which causes most of our health problems. This problem. Drugs are only there to help reduce any complications. For example, if someone has a heart attack, we'll give medication or to reduce the amount of cholesterol building up in their arteries, but it's not going to undo the insulin resistance. It's the main cause of this problem. As never from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is curable. It can be removed from our life. And fasting is one of those solutions. So fasting is a treatment of insulin resistance. So what we're saying is that fasting is a solution to get rid of diabetes, heart attacks, many, many, many other health problems, even things like fibromyalgia, many health problems that you go to your GP and your GP will say, well, no, this is curable, but it's not the case. But again, this is a lesson for us to A, take control of our health, and B, do our best to get closer and closer to Sunnah lifestyle. So the solution, back to Sunnah lifestyle. In fact, we are very fortunate, alhamdulillah, as the nation who have Quran and Sunnah and all the heritage of Prophet ﷺ all the way till now. In fact, we are very, very lucky, because actually non-Muslims, they don't have that benefit. They don't have it, and they are answers. But all the solutions that we need are actually in our books. We just have to responsibility to act on it. It's not easy. I'm speaking from my own behalf. It isn't easy, and we all struggle, but we need to make a first step. The Prophet ﷺ said, the son of Adam does not fill any vessel worse than his son. It's sufficient for the son of Adam to eat a few mouthfuls to keep him going. If he must fill his stomach, then let him fill 1/3 with food, 1/3 with drink, 1/3 with air. And I think everyone knows this hadith. But from a scientific view, it's implemented by every human being, we will maybe get rid of half, if not more, of our health problems. We'll be able to save the NHS, get rid of most of the necessary operations, heart operations, many drug companies will close down. Hadith. And I was even discussing this hadith with one doctor who has a PhD in diabetes, and said this is enough. This hadith is enough for us to cure ourselves from diabetes. And there may be people with diabetes and high blood pressure, on the call. Inshallah, I will give you some links to other doctors who are doing this with patients to get them off their medication and get them, alhamdulillah, healthy and well. So this is an article in the New England Journal of Medicine about the effects of intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting is, as you know, is available, and many people are doing it, and alhamdulillah, benefiting a lot, alhamdulillah. We've had a diet like the 5-2 diet, and people fasting from the daylight hours only. And alhamdulillah, many people have found this been very, very beneficial. And this is a very new paper, and it shows that a greater amount of evidence, medical studies have shown that what fasting does, it helps combat this process of insulin resistance. And this is this triggering of how the body changes from burning sugars to burning fats. And this helps reduce cancer, obesity, and obesity itself causes cancers. It is, in fact, a big study was done called the Million Women Study, where they looked at, they examined the lives of 1 million women in the US, and they found that of those women who got cancer, 50%, half of those cancers were due to obesity alone. SubhanAllah, it is shocking. But then you can ask yourself, well, why aren't the medical world, why aren't our governments, why isn't there a bigger pressure or a bigger stress on changing our lifestyles? Why is it always a sideline? Why when you go to your GP, why doesn't he ask you, well, how much exercise are you doing? How can I help you do more exercise? What is your diet like? How can I help you change your diet? Why isn't this happening? And that's what you asked for you to research. It is ingrained in the culture that we're a drug culture, we're a drug-based culture, but also, the food industry has a huge responsibility, and the drug industry has a huge responsibility in this as well, no doubt. So as a reminder for myself, fasting is for life. It's not just for Ramadan. So we can take the benefits and from Ramadan and then continue throughout our life. Mondays and Thursdays, the fasting of Dhul Hijjah, the 10 days of Shawwal, Ashura, that says the white nights. So, there's many opportunities, and the Prophet ﷺ used to fast so regularly, and no doubt is great for our nafs, our closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but also for our health, for our physical strength. Don't think that actually eating is going to make us stronger. It's the opposite way around. Eating is making us weaker, except for what we need. But by eating, we're putting so much disease into our body, overeating, and we're causing ourselves a lot of problems. So I want to go back to the very beginning where we said, if we have ourselves akhirah focused and say, how do we need to be in order to fulfill our responsibilities to human beings, to take our responsibility that we have to be guides for all of human beings now, that there's no prophets to come. So we have to take our entire deen seriously. So it means reflecting on our own lives and seeing what level of culture we have in our life, and don't attribute that to Islam. I've come from a Pakistani background, and we know how Asian diets are very unfortunately unhealthy. And not only unhealthy, they're causing our premature death. They're causing lots of problems in our families. And no doubt, and this is my statement, it is affecting our ability to be a good Islamic nation. Because as weak Muslims, we cannot take the responsibility of looking after other people. We are always going to other people to ask them to cure us, ask them for their advice. So we're always the receiving hand. We should not be the receiving hand. We should be the giving hand. As Prophet ﷺ said, the giving hand, the upper hand is better than the lower hand. And at the minute, we are very much on the lower hand. A few years ago, when we look to see who is the most obese nation on the earth, we would think it might be the US, but sadly, it is not the case. It is the Emirates, some Muslim country, but we're still following the culture now of the modern world, thinking this is successful, this is the right way to be, this is the successful way of life. But that's not correct. Success was with the Prophet ﷺ. It was with the Sahaba, with the early generations, and how they were followed. So advise myself to take control of your own health, my own health, take full responsibility. And there's nothing better than what the Prophet ﷺ advised us about how much we should eat, sitting to eat, um, controlling the volume of food is very, very important. Fasting, sitting together, eating with our fingers reduces the amount of food that we're placing in our mouth, because when we eat with our fingers, we'll only put a small amount that we can taste, because this is where we enjoy the food, is on our tongue. This is where all our, our dopamine is being released because of the sensation from the tongue. And if you're having a large volume of food, most of it won't be tasted. It'll just go straight in the stomach. But having a small volume of food in the mouth and tasting it, giving shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's the better way to eat. The Prophet ﷺ said in a long hadith, he said, he amongst you who lives long will see great controversy. So you must keep to my sunnah and the sunnah of the Khulafa Rashideen. Those who guide to the right way. Cling to it stubbornly, i.e. with your molar teeth. And the reason I'm saying is that don't feel that the non-Muslim culture is the right way to go forward. It's not the case. Our deen has the best guidance, and we shouldn't wait for a research paper to say, oh, this is now, yes, the Prophet no, this is not making a proper submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but rather we should trust our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We should trust what he said and stick to it stubbornly. So inshallah, the last slide is going to be just about some advice to myself about what we can do during Ramadan, inshallah. So many people aren't going to like this red box here, but really everything in this red box, no doubt, is causing us harm. It is causing us disease. It is causing us premature death. There's no doubt about it. If it's not taken regularly, this is what's causing our harm. It is weakening the Muslim Ummah. It is weakening the Muslim Ummah. So if you want to return back to the glory of the age of the Sahaba, or the glory of the golden era, until these go from our diet, I don't think it will be achievable. I think we'll be constantly going to our doctors, going to here and there, being weak with our salah because we can't wake up because we're physically unwell, weak with our ibadah because we can't fast now because we're diabetic and we're on insulin. So all of those problems we're being blocked because of our diet choices. So again, forgive me for if I sound as though I'm telling anybody off. I'm very passionate about this issue because I believe this is a very core issue for our ummah. So it is all small steps, and I will put my hand up, say I struggle with this, and I'm still struggling with this, but I'm aware of how much harm this is causing. And white sugar is a big problem. Lots of studies have now shown white sugar is an addictive substance. It behaves similar to other hard drugs. Not as bad, not to the degree they do, but similar. So what drugs like heroin, cocaine, all those, they release a lot of dopamine in the brain, and they have a very high level of dopamine every time you get the hit of drug. Normal things like say an apple, it doesn't do that. You get a dopamine release, you'll enjoy it, but then dopamine will go down, and you can't keep eating apples, you'll get bored. But with sugar, every time you have sugar, you get a dopamine hit, and you will never get bored. The dopamine doesn't go down. White sugar is a highly processed substance, and no doubt it is driving this insulin resistance, which drives the obesity, which drives all the cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure. So as much as we can during Ramadan, try to make a commitment to yourself, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, saying, I'm going to try to do my best to try and get rid of these foods. So cut down white sugar, switch to honey. The Prophet used to love honey. We can't criticize honey. White bread. If you're having a lot of bread or a lot of chapati, switch to brown, and try to leave it to the end of your meal so you get full up with other good things before you're eating the bread or chapati. White rice, it is a big problem. Inshallah, I will try and share a screen for you. And this is a good game to play. I'll try and see if I can post the link if I miss. It's on phcuk.org. phcuk.org. Now, it's a good game. You can play this with your family. Of course, you can all see this. So if you want to look away for a few seconds, and what I wanted to do was show you, yes, common foods. So I want to try to get rid of one corner so that you don't see it, inshallah. Bismillah. No, not that side. Try to get rid of, I want to hide the foods. Okay, no, that's done, inshallah. So this is about the equivalent of 1 teaspoon of sugar in the serving size. And these are common foods that we eat. So there's the top food here has the equivalent of having 10 spoons of white sugar in your meal. To have a guess what you think that might be. I'll give you a few seconds, inshallah. I know I've gone over time a bit, forgive me. You'll be surprised. It's Basmati rice. It's rice that every one of the Asian households will have in their homes. So the equivalent of one serving, that's 150 grams, and no doubt, we've seen how many servings we have. We have maybe 2 to 3 times that. So we're having maybe 10, 20, 30 spoons of sugar. And if you're diabetic, may Allah protect you and give you shifa, you're basically pushing your diabetes further and further and further in the wrong direction. So what I'm trying to say is that there are some good resources out there. I'm going to go back to the presentation. There's some very good resources out there, and that's one of them. It can't be done. You do need a doctor or someone who's trained in helping you get to a high, healthy fat, low carbohydrate diet to help you get along. You do need the help, because it does, especially if there's diabetes, high blood pressure, cardiovascular problems, so heart attacks and strokes. If there's that kind of history, you do need a doctor to help you. And there's not many doctors out there, but if you go to the phcuk.org website, they can help you find someone. So if I just quickly reel these off, so white sugar, white bread, white rice. So the whites, cut down as much as you're able to as a family. Takeaways, big problem. Takeaways, they have what they call hyper palatable food. So foods designed to be eaten quickly and taste very, very, very good, and hit your dopamine very high, and have a very, very high amount of calories. It's designed to do that, and it's a disaster for two ways. For two reasons, it's a disaster, because one is Muslims eat a lot of takeaways. Secondly, Muslims own a lot of takeaway shops. So one side, we are harming people, and the other side, we are receiving harm. So we need to think about, if you own takeaways, we need to think about how we can switch to a healthy diet. It can be done. It doesn't mean you have to give up your shop. It can be done. It can be switched to a healthy place, and then switch to more of these, more fruit, more vegetables. Get rid of the white potatoes. Have sweet potatoes instead. Salads, lots of them. Get rid of the vegetable oils. Sunflower oils, these are very harmful. A lot of research has shown these are harmful. Switch to olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oils. These are much more healthier. Even if they're fried in olive oil, it's better. Raw nuts have good fats, which are beneficial. It's shown to reduce our bad cholesterol. Fish. Now, meats is a controversial issue, because the problem with meat is they contain lots of antibiotics, and antibiotics are shown to be very harmful to our health. Good fats, that means full fat milk. So we're always told low fat. No, full fat milk is the fats in there have been shown to be good for our heart. Yogurts, whole grains, that means things like barley, quinoa, and those kinds of good grains. It's not easy to eat these things, but over time you can slowly change your diet to good and healthy things. It's taken me a long time to get rid of white sugar from my diet. I would put my hand up and say I'm a sugar addict, and it's taken a long time, and alhamdulillah, it's only during Ramadan that I can get rid of sugar, and then it sets me up for the rest of the year to be cut and control my sugar as much as possible, alhamdulillah. So some tips for suhoor, inshallah. So definitely, as the Prophet did, dates. Same with iftar, have 3 dates and water before praying maghrib. Yogurt, nuts, eggs. Kefir is great. It has good bacteria, which helps to populate our gut with good bacteria. And those bacteria help us with things like good vitamins, good substances for our brain. Carbohydrates aren't altogether bad, but if you're unhealthy, especially if you have, if you're obese, especially if we can pinch our stomach fat, that means we have this insulin resistance going on. Try to cut down those carbohydrates as much as possible. But having brown carbohydrates, so means whole meal flour for bread is better, and have a small amount. And you find that if it's proper wholemeal flour, you won't be able to eat very much. It's very heavy to eat. Avoid breakfast cereals. On the PHCQ website, you'll find, it's a PHC UK website, you'll find a similar chart for breakfast cereals, and you'll see how bad breakfast cereals are. The main thing, so don't forget, is of course keep yourself well hydrated, especially in these long hot days. Make sure you drink water and have some fruits. Vegetables and salads are very good at holding water, so it is if you have that alongside water, it will get better hydrated. So inshallah, there's a lot there, and maybe we can get the presentation to the listeners inshallah if they need it, inshallah. So a summary conclusion, and over my time, forgive me. So get the mindset right. We are Khairul Ummah. Take control of it, take responsibility, make small changes, small habits. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves the small things, then continuously. And advice to myself, stick to Sunnah as much as possible, and that fasting is great for our health. Alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah khairan.